So Turkish inflation, it hit 83% this week. And notably, even more so, is that the city of Istanbul, which is one of the largest cities in the world with over 10 million in population, it hit over 107%, I believe, 107.4% year-on-year inflation, which is crazy. Just think about paying for whatever it be it a car, bread, a t-shirt, paying 107.4% more for it this year than you did last October. Bonkers, right? Of course it is. So this is this could very well get the Turkish president Erdogan thrown out of office. So there's a Turkish presidential election next year, 2023. Erdogan's up for re-election, and over the last 20 years within Turkish political life, Erdogan has been very successful on maintaining his grip in society. But due to his own economic policies, he may be thrown out of office due to the skyrocketing inflation. So why is this due to his own policies? So typically central banks, when there's an inflationary period, they raise interest rates. So when you raise interest rates, that makes money more expensive. When you make money more expensive to borrow, that typically tampers the economy and spending, and that usually helps to dampen and lower inflation, right? So Erdogan has it in his head that instead of raising interest rates when inflation is going up, that you should instead lower inflation rates when inflation is going up, and eventually inflation will get so tired of rising that it'll just fall and collapse, which goes against all economic orthodoxy, and honestly just serves as jet fuel for further inflationary spirals. So as soon as these inflationary numbers year on year were announced this week, 107.4%, crazy, right? So instead of thinking we need to raise interest rates, Erdogan's like, hey, central bankers in Ankara, before the end of the year, you better lower these interest rates even further. And he wants them to be in the single digits. I believe right now they're around like 12% interest rate in Turkey. In the single digits before New Year's Day, which is crazy. It's just, again, it's pouring gasoline in the fire, going to exacerbate the whole economic situation, making life much more difficult for the average Turkish citizen when they just try to buy anything. So this is bad on multiple levels. I mean, for one, there's such high inflation when the world's major economic hubs is, of course, noteworthy, given that Istanbul is geographically it's placed between kind of the center between east and west. So it is important for international commerce and trade. And this has been true throughout pretty much all of human history. So spiraling costs there, I mean, it makes it more difficult for international businesses, which are many that have set up shop in Istanbul, to not only try to determine costs, but also when they are trying to repatriate profits made in Turkish lira, it's going to be much lower, right? Because the Turkish lira every day is pretty much worth less and less and less and less. So that's, businesses don't like it. It also kind of deters FDI, which is a shame because there's a lot of great investment potential within Turkey, particularly if you consider that PwC, the consulting firm, has indicated that by the year 2050, they believe that by GDP PPP, Turkey will be the 11th largest economy in the world, and that's right behind the UK at 10th, and ahead of France, which they believe will be 12th. So, I mean, that's pretty significant. So Erdogan's just kind of killing all this potential investment due to his erratic, unorthodox monetary policies. But from a geopolitical standpoint, this is also important to note for the reason that, so given the whole context, the Ukraine invasion with Moscow, Vladimir Putin really only has one leader within the NATO, the Western Alliance, that he's buddy with, and that is Turkish President Erdogan. So imagine if voters get so sick of paying exorbitant costs within Turkey that next year, and they give Recep Erdogan the boot from office. Well, that means there's going to be zero Western leaders within the NATO alliance that Vladimir Putin has a cushy relationship with, further isolating him on the global geopolitical stage, and will make international relations that much more interesting to pay attention to. So keep your eye on the rising inflation, not only in Turkey as a whole. As I said, I believe it's around 83%, but particularly within Istanbul, over 107%, as that is one of the key bastions for voters within the country of Turkey.